Hello everyone, welcome to Oliveboard. In this video we are going to discuss about the RBI directions related to project finance. So these are the project finance directions 2025. Okay, why did RBI issue these directions? Look, over the past years RBI saw certain issues in project finance, especially when the project faced delays, right? So we all know that project finance are quite big projects and they usually face delays. Now there was no unified rule which was there earlier, right? So here are the unified rules. They have consolidated all the previous directions as well in the 2025 direction. So project delays often caused financial stress and the old rules didn't clarify how to handle them, right? So here are the new rules and that can be important for your examination. Okay, before starting the discussion, you can check out our course and you can start your journey with us, right? We had a blockbuster success in the RBI Grade B examination 2024, right? You can download the Oliveboard application as well, and there you'll be finding all the sessions, all the YouTube PDFs, right, related to the sessions, and you can also join our Telegram channel. You can also download and practice the previous year questions. Apart from that, there is a video series as well on the previous year question that you can get on the YouTube channel of Oliveboard. Okay, so RBI has set up a harmonized principle based regulatory framework for the project finance. So first we will be discussing what project finance is all about. Earlier we were also having framework, right? But the earlier prudential framework which was there in 2019 did not cover the restructuring related changes in the DCCO, date of commencement of commercial operation. So this is nothing but the start date, right? Whenever we are starting the commercial operation of that project finance project, right, that will be called as DCCO. जब से हम चालू कर रहे हैं उसको क्या बोलेंगे हम? DCCO. Now these new decisions are issued to rationalize and harmonize the project finance norms across all the regulated entities, right? ओके गाइस, सो सबसे पहले इसके अंदर देखो क्या दे रखा है, प्रिलिमिनरी में प्रियम्बल दे रखा है, तो अप्लाइज टू प्रोजेक्ट फाइनेंस इन द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एज वेल एज नॉन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेक्टर. So this particular circular will be applicable on infrastructure as well as non-infrastructure sector, including the commercial real estate and commercial real estate residential housing. Let's suppose you are making commercial real estate, right? You are building commercial real estate. Let's suppose a commercial complex. Right? So this is commercial real estate. However, you can be also preparing the residential housing units, or you can be constructing the flats as well, right? So that's commercial real estate housing, residential housing, right? The end use is ultimately residential housing. So these are the two things that is again included in this particular direction as well. This direction is applicable on CRE and CRE residential housing as well, right? Okay, so effective date is 1st of October 2025. From 1st of October 2025 these directions will be applicable, right? And they will be applicable on commercial banks, NBFCs, right, including the HFCs, primary cooperative banks, all India financial institutions. So we can see that a wide variety of banks are covered here, financial institutions are covered here in the applicability. If I talk about the non-applicability, projects with financial closure before 1st of October 2025, if the financial closure of your project is before 1st October 2025, let's suppose this is 1st October 2025, and you are able to do the financial closure here itself before the date of 1st October 2025, you are able to do the financial closure just before the 1st October 2025, then this particular direction won't apply, right, to your entity. So now what is financial closure? We'll be having a discussion regarding that as well. Plus, if you are not qualifying, let's suppose you are not qualifying in the definition of project finance, your resolution is not qualifying in the definition of project finance, then definitely you can continue to be guided by the guidelines contained in the prudential framework. So whatever circular came in 2019 related to prudential framework, you will continue to apply that. You will continue to refer that particular prudential framework and not this one, right? You need to qualify as project finance. Your entity, your project needs to qualify the definition of project finance, right? If not, then you can follow the prudential framework here, right? Now there are so many definitions here. I'll be taking the major definitions. I already explained you commercial real estate. Let's suppose you are constructing a commercial complex. That's a commercial real estate, right? The end use will be commercial in nature. However, if I talk about commercial real estate housing, residential housing, let's suppose I'm building flats, then they will be covered under the CRERH, right? Residential housing, because the end use is not commercial, it's housing, though I'm doing a commercial activity by selling those residential flats. However, the end use is the residential housing, right? Project finance refers to the method of funding a project. Let's suppose I do have a project, a toll plaza, let's suppose. Okay, so I'm building a toll plaza. Okay, multiple toll plaza, let's suppose. I'm building highways. So it refers to a method of funding a project in which the revenue to be generated by the funded project serves as the primary security of the loan and also as a source of repayment. Let's suppose I'm building highways. So I'll be collecting the revenue via toll plazas, right? Now I need loans. I need long-term loans in order to fund these highways, in order to construct these highways, right? So these toll plazas will definitely help me to recover the loan, pay the principal as well as interest, right? So that's what they have written here. The funded project, this project, highway project, serve as a primary security of the loan. So this will be the primary security of the loan and also the source of repayment. How I will be repaying whatever earning I'll able to generate from the toll plaza, I'll be using that for repaying the principal as well as interest of the loan, right? So that's nothing but project finance. And for the purpose of these directions, an exposure shall qualify as project finance exposure only if the following conditions are satisfied. So there is a definition of project finance exposure as well. The predominant source of repayment at the time of financial closure, at least 51%, right? What do you mean by predominant source of prepayment? It should be at least 51%, must be from the cash flow arising from the project which is being financed. So this project, highway project, यहाँ से 51% से भी ज़्यादा अगर मेरे पास पैसा आता है, right? At least 51%. यहाँ से मेरी earning आती है, तो that will be called as the predominant source of repayment, right? Obviously highway बना रहा हूँ तो toll collection करूँगा. If I am doing the toll collection, I'll be able to repay my loan back, right? So that earning should be at least 51% here. Now again and again this word is coming, financial closure. It's nothing but how you obtain the capital. It's nothing but how you obtain the capital, right? So this is the first condition. The predominant source should be at least 51% from the project itself, right? जिस पे finance ले रहे हो, जिसका finance करवा रहे हो highway से, अरे वहां से कम 51% you should be able to generate, right? All the lenders have common agreement with the debtor. So all the lenders who are giving me the money, because it's a highway project, it's a huge project, there can be multiple lenders as well, right? They need to have a common agreement with the debtor. Why? Because the security, or I can say the project is one only, right? It's the same only. So multiple lenders will be using that particular highway project only, right, as my security. So in that case, the lender needs to have a common agreement with the debtor. All the lenders need to have a common agreement with the debtor, right? So that's the definition of project finance as per this direction. Very, very important for your examination. Please do remember at least 51% should be coming from the project, right? The cash flow must be coming from the project. That should be at least 51%. All the lenders should have one common agreement with the debtor, right? Financial closure. Now what do you mean by financial closure? Refers to the date on which the capital structure of the project. Look, what is capital structure? How much I'm taking money from the equity shareholders, how much preference shareholders I need, how much debt I need, in debt, how much via bonds, how much via debentures, how much money via bank loans, right? This is nothing but capital structure. Let's suppose I have 50% equity, 50% debt, then that means my capital structure is 50-50. 50% is equity, 50% is debt, right? That's nothing but my capital structure. So financial closure means nothing but capital structure only. refers to the date on which capital structure of the project, including all the arrangements like equity, debt, it can be grant as well, right? Maybe government is giving me a grant for building these highways, right? Accounting for minimum 90% of the total project cost. Let's suppose the total project cost is 1000 crore. So the date on which I am able to secure 900 crore will be the date of my financial closure, right? That means I have closed my finance. I don't need finance anymore because I have secured at least 90% of my finances. Obviously, the rest of the 10% will be also I'll be getting only, right? That's for sure. I have secured 90% of the required finance. The date on which I'll be securing this 900 crore will be my date of financial closure. So financial closure का इतना सा मतलब होता है जिस दिन आपको आपका 90% पैसा मिल जाता है आपके टोटल कॉस्ट का, वही आपका डेट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर होता है, राइट? सही है, यहां तक सबको क्लियर? रेजोल्यूशन प्लान. नाउ देयर माइट बी इश्यूज with the repayment of loan, right? Let's suppose if a party is defaulting, then there needs to be a resolution plan as well. So it's nothing but a mutually agreed, legally binding and feasible time-bound plan for resolution of stress in a project. Let's suppose a stress is there in the project. The debtor is not able to repay the money to the lenders, right? So we need a resolution plan, and that's what a resolution plan is all about, right? Now there is credit event. So credit event means default, any kind of default, राइट? डिफॉल्ट को हम यहाँ पे क्या बोलते हैं? क्रेडिट इवेंट बोलते हैं. DCCO extension, let's suppose you are starting your project on 1st of January, however you are unable to start it till December. So can I say that this is a DCCO extension, right? It will also be a credit event only. Why? Because if you are delaying your project, the cash flows that are emanating from the projects will definitely hamper the lenders as well, right? Lenders cash flow as well. Need for additional debt, let's suppose I need some additional debt, that's also a credit event. Or any kind of financial difficulty if I am facing, all these things are nothing but credit events, right? DCCO, that means it can be three types, right? Date of commencement of commercial operation bid, basically the full form is original date at financial closure. The moment I achieved the financial closure, that's my original date. Extended, now let's suppose for XYZ reasons I am not able to start the project timely, so that will be the extended date of commencement of commercial operation. And what is the actual? Let's suppose the original was planned in January 2025, however I extended it to March 2025, let's suppose, but actually I have started the work in, let's suppose, December 2025, right? So this is nothing but the actual date, this is nothing but the extended date, and the original date here is January 2025. इतना simple है, बहुत ही simple चीज है, right? And they have given you the credit event here. So I have pasted the screenshots as well from the circular so that you can get a feel of the circular as well. ताकि पूरा का पूरा easy language में दे दूंगा तो उसका crux खत्म हो जाएगा, right? So that's why I have pasted the screenshots from the circular as well. You can refer it later on, right? Standby credit facility, pre-sanctioned credit line for cost overrun. Let's suppose the total project cost is 1000 crore. However, because of the certain kind of extensions, let's suppose I have taken some kind of extension, right? I was about to start in January, however actually I have started the production in December. So there can be cost overruns, right? The expected cost can increase. The expected cost can increase. Now who will fund this extended cost, right? This extra cost who will be funding? So there will be already a standby credit facility. This circular, this direction has been granted in has been drafted in such a great manner, I will say. Beautifully they have drafted this particular circular or direction, right? They have considered each and everything practically. So let's suppose if due to that extension मेरा लोन 1000 करोड़ से लेके कितना हो गया, 1100 करोड़ हो गया. So there is a standby credit facility as well, right? Then original date of commencement. So everything we have already studied in a simple manner, right? You can later on read these screenshots as well. These are from the actual circular. These are the definitions, right? जो circular के अंदर लिखी हुई है, इसको आप later on पढ़ सकते हो. Majorly हमने सारी यहाँ पे cover कर लिए. एक टर्मिनोलॉजी बाकी रह गई, इंटरेस्ट ड्यूरिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस इज, लेट्स सपोज आई एम कंस्ट्रक्टिंग दिस बिल्डिंग, और लेट्स सपोज आई एम कंस्ट्रक्टिंग दिस हाईवे, राइट? So I have taken a loan. The loan amount is 1000 crore. Now let's suppose I am paying interest of 50 crore on it. So what will be the cost of highway? Will it be 1000 crore or will it be 1050 crore? Obviously 1050 crore. Why? Because I will be capitalizing the interest in the cost of this highway. I will be capitalizing the interest in the cost of this highway. अरे यार लोन नहीं लेता तो हाईवे कैसे बनता? लोन लिया है तो इंटरेस्ट देना पड़ेगा, तो इंटरेस्ट भी आपकी कॉस्ट का पार्ट बनेगा ना, राइट? कॉस्ट का तो पार्ट बनेगा. इट इज कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस. इट इज सिंपल वे में अ कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, सो आई नीड टू मेक इट अ पार्ट ऑफ माय कॉस्ट, राइट? So that's what interest during construction is all about. Whenever I am doing a construction, whatever interest I am paying on that construction, I need to capitalize it. We call it capitalize. क्यों capitalize? अरे 1000 करोड़ का आपका असेट है, हाईवे है, उसके अंदर 50 करोड़ आप कैपिटलाइज कर दो इंटरेस्ट के. सो आई से दैट आई हैव कैपिटलाइज दिस 50 करोड़. आई हैव कैपिटलाइज दिस 50 करोड़, राइट? नाउ देयर आर 3 phases of any project. There are 3 phases. First is the design phase. There will be doing planning, approval till the financial closure, right? As of now I haven't achieved. What is financial closure? अभी तक 90% कैपिटल स्ट्रक्चर नहीं आया. 1000 करोड़ I was needing. I need 1000 crore. However, in order to close, in order to financial closure के लिए I need 900 crore, at least 90% of the required cost of the planned cost. Before achieving the financial closure, whatever activities are there like planning, approval, right? Nobody will be giving me loan कि ले लो सर 1000 crore. Nobody will be giving me loan so easily, right? They will say show me your design, show me the approvals that you have taken, right? So before the financial closure, I need to do a lot of stuff like planning, taking approvals, right? Making designs of my project. That's why the bank will be giving me loan. अरे बैंक के पास जाके बोलूंगा मैं कॉम्प्लेक्स बना रहा हूँ या हाईवे बना रहा हूँ, लोन दे दो. बोलेगा भाई प्लान तो दो, तुम्हारा क्या प्लान है, कहाँ बना रहे हो, कितना बड़ा बना रहे हो, राइट? कहीं हमको तो नहीं बना रहे हो. They will be asking me 1000 questions. They will ask 1000 questions before approving that, right? That's design phase. Next is construction phase. From financial closure to day before the actual DCCO. Look, the moment आपने यहाँ पे देखो आपका financial closure नहीं हुआ था. The moment आपका financial closure हो गया, now you are on the next stage of construction phase, right? To the day before the actual DCCO. DCCO मतलब काम ही चालू कर दिया, काम ही चालू कर दिया, राइट? एक्चुअल DCCO. द मोमेंट आपका एक्चुअल DCCO चालू हो जाता है, दैट्स योर ऑपरेशनल फेज. नाउ यू आर ऑपरेटिंग इट, राइट? यू हैव एक्चुअली कमेंस्ड दैट थिंग. You have actually commenced that thing. So that's the operational phase, right? From the actual DCCO to the full repayment of loan. So जब तक आप लोन चुका नहीं देते हो, देखो समझना, इजी लैंग्वेज में बताता हूँ. डिजाइन, अरे अभी तो सिर्फ डिजाइन बना है, अभी तो आपका फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर ही नहीं हुआ है, एफसी ही नहीं हुआ है. द मोमेंट आपका एफसी हो गया, द मोमेंट आपका एफसी हो गया, आप कंस्ट्रक्शन फेज में आ गए. नाउ यू आर परमिटेड फॉर कंस्ट्रक्शन एक्टिविटी, राइट? अब आप हाईवे को क्या कर रहे हो, कंस्ट्रक्ट कर रहे हो. यू आर कंस्ट्रक्टिंग दिस हाईवे, सो यू आर इन कंस्ट्रक्शन फेज. फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ एक्चुअल DCCO, ये DCCO एक्चुअल वाला, यहां से लेके जब तक आप फुली रीपे नहीं कर देते लोन को, ये कौन सा फेज होता है? ऑपरेशनल फेज होता है, राइट? अरे यहीं तो बैंक एक्चुअल में आपसे कमाता है, यहीं तो आप लोन रीपेमेंट करना चालू करते हो पूरा का पूरा, राइट? सो these 3 phases are there in the project. Okay, these 3 phases are there in the project. Please do remember, first is the design phase. We don't have the financial closure till the financial closure, right? Once you have the financial closure till the actual DCCO, you are in the construction phase, and from the actual DCCO to the actual full repayment of loan, you are in the operational phase. These are the 3 phases here, right? And that's what they have stated in the circular as well. Prudential conditions related to sanction. How you will be getting the sanction, right? The bank will be sanctioning your loan, right? So when you will be getting the sanction, there are some predefined conditions. Financial closure. First, close the finances. Tell your capital structure whether you have achieved 90% of the stated cost or not. So financial closure and DCCO must be clearly defined. Clearly define your financial closure and DCCO, date of commencement of commercial operation, right? Tell me कब से business चालू कर रहे हो. Bank will be telling bank will be asking you two things. Financial closure बता दो, clearly define कर दो. कब से काम चालू कर रहे हो ये बता दो. When you will be start working, right? Pre-disbursement. पैसा देने से पहले ही तो ये चीजें चेक होगी, बाद में थोड़ी चेक होगी. Post DCCO repayment schedule must be realistic. So whatever the DCCO repayment, what is DCCO? अरे यार काम चालू कर दिया, you have started working now, right? Now you need to pay the loan as well. You need to start paying the loan as well, right? So give a repayment schedule and it should be realistic. ऐसा नहीं हाईवे बना लिया 100 साल बाद आपको कॉस्ट रिकवर हो जाएगी, रियलिस्टिक ही नहीं है, राइट? 10 years, 15 years, there should be a reasonable time period, right? It should be realistic. ऐसा नहीं कि रोड की लाइफ ही 10 साल है और आप बोल रहे हो मैं 30 साल में लोन चुकाऊंगा. अरे क्या बात कर रहे हो यार, 30 साल में तो रोड ही खत्म हो जाएगा, 2 बार और बनाना पड़ जाएगा रोड को, राइट? तो इट शुड बी रियलिस्टिक इन नेचर. रीपेमेंट टेन्योर including the moratorium should be less than or equal to 85% of the economic life. Now repayment tenure, let's suppose the economic life is 10 years, then the repayment tenure will be less than or equal to max 8.5 years, right? 85% of 10 years, that's 8.5%. so it can be lower than 8.5 or at most it can be 8.5, right? And common DCCO dates across all the lender. ऐसा नहीं कि आप एक lender HDFC बैंक को you are saying कि you will be starting the production from April, ICICI बैंक को you are saying from December. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. The date must be same, the schedule must be same here, right? Prudential conditions. So all the conditions here are mentioned that I have summarized it for you. You can have a look at the circular as well later on, right? So credit policies of the lender shall incorporate suitable clauses here for sanction of project finance exposure. RBI here is asking the regulated entities like banks and NBFCs to please have a suitable clause, incorporate suitable clause. ऐसा नहीं कि आपसे कोई भी हाईवे बनाने वाला, कंस्ट्रक्शन करने वाला आके कुछ भी ले जा रहा है, right? In terms of money, you need to have a suitable clauses incorporated in the policy, right? Have a policy. So this is the direction of RBI. So definitely they are directing the regulated entities कि भाई कुछ policy बनाओ, right? And there is a criteria of 85% as well that we discussed, right? Now in under construction project where the aggregate exposure of lender is up to 1,500 crore, let's suppose the lender, which is a bank, the aggregate exposure is up to 1,500 crore, up to. No individual lender shall have an exposure which is less than 10% of the aggregate exposure, right? So if you are an individual lender, let's suppose there are 10 lenders here, right? No individual exposure, no individual lender should be having exposure less than 10%. That means 150 crore. If you are HDFC bank, at least take a exposure of 150 crore so that you are interested in that project, right? It should not be less than 10%, right? So 10% of 1500 is 150. At least you need to have an exposure of 150 crore, right? Otherwise the bank won't care. If the substantial interest is not there, they won't care, right? For the recovery efforts and all, let's suppose the party is defaulting, so वहाँ पे बैंक को substantial amount लगना चाहिए recover करने के लिए, right? For projects with aggregate exposure of the lender is more than 1500 crore, let's suppose the exposure is more than 1500 crore, in that case individual lender, HDFC bank, ICICI bank, per bank be 5% or 150 crore, whichever is higher, right? Whichever is higher. Let's suppose the cost is 2000 crore. In that case 5% of 2000 crore is 100 crore or 150 crore, whichever is higher. So 150 crore will be the new limit now, right? That's how it takes place. Do remember this limit, important for your examination. A lender shall ensure all the applicable approvals and clearance of the project are obtained before the financial closure. Or you are about to close the finance, you are about to give them the money. However, they haven't yet taken the approvals. The approvals are not yet been done, right? So मान लो हाईवे बन रहा है, अप्रूवल ही नहीं आया, ऐसा कैसे होगा? So lender needs to ensure that all the approvals are in place, right? All the clearances are done before the financial closure itself. Approval clearances that are contingent upon certain milestone, they won't even be considered as clearances, prerequisite clearances. अरे किसी milestone पे dependent है तो milestone हो जाएगा तब मानेंगे कि हो गया है, उससे पहले हम नहीं मानेंगे. We won't consider it as done until that particular milestone is achieved on which that particular clearance or approval is dependent, right? Prudential conditions related to sanction, minimum exposure limit for the lender based on total project size. It's based on the total project size. We have discussed it, right? And let's suppose the disbursement and monitoring, land or right of the way of possession before the fund release. So land होना चाहिए उनके पास, right होना चाहिए या फिर land का. For PPP infra projects, it should be 50%. For others, it should be 75%. And that's what we can see here in the circular. Lender shall ensure availability of sufficient land. अरे हाईवे बना रहे हैं, लैंड ही नहीं है, ऐसे कैसे? कॉम्प्लेक्स बना रहे हो, लैंड ही नहीं है, एडिक्वेट ले लेंगे, अरे कब ले लोगे, राइट? सो लेंडर नीड्स टू इंश्योर द अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ sufficient land here and right of the way of all the projects. You should be having sufficient land, you should be having all the rights related to the projects, right? If it's an infrastructure project PPP model wala, then 50% is the criteria. For others, 75% is the criteria here, right? Next, disbursement and monitoring. For the PPP disbursement only after the appointed date. You'll be getting the money only after the appointed date here. Supplementary agreement allowed if appointment date changes with techno-economic feasibility. Let's suppose as per the technical and economic feasibility, if there is any change, then that's fine. Steady if exposure is greater than equal to 100 crore. So these are the internal guidelines that banks need to have these guidelines in their policy, right? In their policy, disbursal must align with the project stages, equity infusion, and certified by the independent engineer. Now, because this is a technical work, how you'll be giving the money? You'll be giving 1000 crore at once? No. Disbursal must be aligned with project stages. Let's suppose this stage is first, then second, then third, then fourth, right? So accordingly, as per these stages, you'll be giving loans in part, right? Not at once. However, you'll be giving them in part, right? You'll be giving the loans in part. Projects can still be classified as NPA before the DCCO if recovery is poor, right? So if recovery is poor, you can anytime declare it as NPA as well. Resolution of stress. Now let's suppose you are a bank, HDFC Bank, you have financed a project, this highway, right? Now this borrower, you are seeing some signs of stress from this loan, from this borrower, right? Then you need to do the stress monitoring. It's an ongoing process. You need to do it continuously. Resolution should be started early only. So as HDFC Bank, as a regulated entity, you need to start that resolution. उसको फटाफट से क्या करो, चालू करो यार. resolution को wait मत करो कि वो बार बार और default करता चला जाएगा, situation और ज़्यादा खराब हो जाए. इससे better है आप क्या करो, resolution process चालू कर दो. Credit event, that means collective resolution, not just default, right? And must be reported to the CRILC. What is CRILC? We'll be definitely discussing. It's nothing but Central Repository of Information on Large Credit. Central Repository on Information on Large Credit. This is a large credit only, right? Usually project finances are large credits only. Now in case of credit event, that means in case of any default. What is credit event? Default. You need to report as regulated entity. You need to report on the CRILC. Very, very important. Where do you need to report? CRILC, Central Repository of Information on Large Credit, right? So you need to report on this particular platform. Prima facie review within 30 days of the credit event, and you need to again and again review it as well within 30 days of the credit event. जब से default हुआ है, prima facie एक बार review करो कि chances are there or not कि ये stress कम हो जाएगा, right? So these are the provisions basically. Now prudential norms for resolution plans involving date of commencement of commercial operation extension. Let's suppose you have taken a DCCO extension, you were about to start from here, however you have extended it. You have extended it, right? You have extended the DCCO. So this is the extended DCCO, right? So what will happen? Will your account be treated as an NPA if you have extended your tenure? Let's suppose आप चालू करने वाले थे January 2025 में. However, you have started it from January 2026. You have taken an extension. What will happen to the loan of HDFC Bank? Will it turn NPA? No. It will retain standard classification. It will be maintained. Standard classification will be maintained. If the DCCO deferment limit for infrastructure project is up to 3 years, project finances are huge projects, guys, right? It takes years. Sometimes it even takes 5, 10, 15 years to recover the money, 20 years to recover the money, right? So that's why it's quite flexible. आपको लगेगा अरे 3 साल बहुत छोटी मोटी बात है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट में, कुछ चीजों को बनने में ही सालों लग जाते हैं, राइट? सो हियर up to 3 years for the infrastructure projects. However, for the non-infrastructure project, including the commercial real estate and housing, residential housing, it's up to 2 years. It's up to 2 years, right? Please do remember this limit, very, very important for your exam. It's important, right? Permitted cost overrun, obviously now you have extended it. You are about to start it in January 2025. However, you are starting it in January 2026. So because of this extension, there is an increase in the cost as well. Earlier you have planned 1000 crore, now it's coming out 1050 crore. Let's suppose 50 crore is additional, so we call it as cost overrun, right? Cost zyada run kar gayi planned se. This is nothing but cost overrun, right? It's fine. Your asset will be again treated as standard asset only up to 10% of the original project plus IDC. What do you mean by IDC? Nothing but interest cost that we capitalize, right? Nothing but interest cost that we capitalize. So let's suppose my project cost estimated was 1000 crore including the IDC. So it can overrun, the cost can overrun by 10%, that means 100 crore. That's fine. It will still be standard only, even if my cost remains overrun. And how this 100 crore will be financed? Because the bank has only committed for 1000 crore. Do you guys remember the SBCF credit facility, right? That we discussed in the initial part of this lecture. There is already a pre-sanctioned credit limit, right? That we discussed in the initial part. Let me just quickly show you. Standby credit facility, right? Standby credit facility. We need that because sometimes cost can overrun, right? In this particular case is also cost is overrunning. So that's why we need it sometimes. So must be funded via the pre-sanctioned SBCF. No issue at all. We have already pre-sanctioned SBCF in place. If SBCF is not sanctioned, let's suppose we don't have it, apply the risk premium pricing. So there is a particular risk premium model that the bank needs to apply. Again, you need to remember this thing. Please do remember this, right? Changes in scope or size. Let's suppose there is a change in scope or size. Let's suppose you were earlier constructing a highway of to a certain extent. Now you have extended that thing, right? You are constructing it even bigger. So 25% up to or equal to 25% increase in the cost due to the scope enhancement allows DCCO deferment and the standard classification. So obviously your deferment will also takes place. अब आप highway ज़्यादा बड़ा बना रहे हो या फिर building ज़्यादा बड़ी बना रहे हो. Let's suppose earlier you were constructing 10 floors. Now you are constructing 20 floors or let's suppose 15 floors. So obviously you need that DCCO deferment, date of commencement को defer करना पड़ेगा in that case. And you will be getting that standard classification benefit here as well, right? Requires viability reassessment and credit rating validation. Now earlier you were creating 10 floors. In the meanwhile you decided that let's create 15 floors, so that requires a viability reassessment whether it's viable or not, right? जैसे हवा में बातें हो रही है. So obviously if you have made any kind of structural changes in the project, you need to take the viability reassessment and credit rating validation will be also there. Why? because maybe you are fit for 10 floors. However, your credit worthiness or your credit rating is not good for 15 floors or 20 floors. You are not that much big builder, right? So that's why they have inserted these provisions as well, and there is a example illustration as well which is given in the circular. Please read that particular thing, right? The cost of the project is 1000 crore. The revised cost here is 1200 crore. So can I say it's more by 20%, it's higher by 20%, right? So the increase in the cost is just 20% due to certain changes in the scope or size. It is well within the limit. Why? Because we can tolerate it up to less than equal to 25%, right? Up to 25% we can tolerate it. However, it's just only 20%, so that's fine. Again, that's fine, right? Here is one more example. Please read it later on, right? Please read it later on. I have given you one more example from the circular. These are examples of the circular which are there in the circular Z, right? So please read them. Time frame for implementation. Now documentation, agreement upgrades, everything, scrutiny creation, security creation, everything should be done within 180 days here, right? This is the post review period. Once your review is done, document everything, agreement updates, security creation, do everything within 180 days. Again, this timeline is important. Please do remember it. Else your account will be downgraded to NPA, non-performing asset, right? So you do have only 180 days here. Criteria for upgradation. If downgraded due to non-compliance of the above, let's suppose you are not able to do it, you are unable to do it in 180 days. So what will happen? Your account will turn to NPA, right? So you are downgraded now. However, your account can be upgraded after satisfactory performance post DCCO. Let's suppose you commence the commercial operations. Now your performance is fine. So we can again upgrade your performance from non-performing asset to a performing asset, right? If only documentation is delayed, then upgradation on successful resolution implementation. Let's suppose you have delayed the documentation part. However, you are very well servicing everything. In that case, upgradation is successful on resolution implementation. So you need to immediately implement the resolution, and that will definitely upgrade your account from NPA to PA, right? Then obviously income recognition, we always follow the standard accounts ka accrual basis, and for NPA classification we do have the income recognition asset classification and provisioning pertaining to the advances wala master circular, which is the prudential norms. RBI ke prudential norms we already have in place, so definitely we'll be following that only, right? Provisioning for standard asset. Let's suppose for project finance exposure, this is for project finance exposure. This is not at all a normal provisioning that we study in the prudential norms. This is related to project finance, right? So you need to maintain a general provision respectively. If you are having a commercial real estate project, then construction phase pe 1.25% or operational phase pe 1%. If you are having a residential housing wala commercial project, then 1% and 0.75%. All rest of 1% and 0.40%. So please do remember this particular table, right? Please do remember this particular table. This is a general provision. This is a general provision. However, there is an additional provision requirement as well, right? There is an additional provision requirement as well. Per quarter of deferment for infra, it's 0.375%. 0.375%. For non-infra, it is 0.5625%, right? So 0.0375 and 0.5625%, right? Even less than 1%, both the things for infra and for non-infra, right? Reversed once the commercial operations commence. So once your commercial operations commence, then you can reverse these additional provisions. As of now, these are the per quarter of deferment, right? Per quarter deferment पे additional provision है जो आपको बनाना रहेगा यहाँ पे. कोई भी deferment हुआ है per quarter का, then in that case you need to make the additional provision. However, if the commercial operation commences, तो deferment खत्म हो गया. Now you can reverse this provision. Provision for existing projects, old norms जो हैं वो चलते आ रहे हैं आपके, and if fresh credit event change or any kind of change takes place post the effective date, which is the 1st of October 2025, then new provisioning norms will apply, right? ये circular ही 1st of October से चालू होने वाला है, तो new provisioning norms भी वहीं से चालू होंगे, Okay. Rest for provisioning for NPAs, we do have the prudential norms wala criteria already, right? Now here are some miscellaneous things as well. Maintain electronic project specific data. So you need to maintain electronic project specific data with real time updates as well, right? Let's suppose there is a change, then within 15 days of that change the data must be updated, right? So we can read from the circular as well. Project specific data in electronic and easily accessible format shall be captured and maintained by the lenders, regulated entities, right, on an ongoing basis, right? So a lender shall update any change in the parameter of the project finance exposure. Let's suppose there is any kind of change in the project finance exposure, then the HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank and all the regulated entities that are lenders involved in this financing, right, they need to update that thing at the earliest but not later than 15 days from such change. So that change you need to update within 15 days, not more than that. Important. 15 days, very, very important, right? So please do remember this thing as well. Now again, there are penal provisions as well. So if you have non-compliance, you are not compliant with any of the directions, if any of the stated guidelines of these directions, then non-compliance is already there, right? You need to pay the penalties as well, right? And here are the annexures that are being mentioned in the circular, Here are the annexures as well, right? I have given you examples. I don't feel that you need to go through each and every circular. You can go through my PDF as well. It's having the screenshots as well plus the examples as well, right? Now there's a line in this particular circular. NBFCs which are required to comply with Indian accounting standard Ind AS shall be guided by the instructions contained in the Master Direction RBI NBFC Scale Based Regulations Direction 2023. So please do remember, when NBFCs who are required to comply with Ind AS, who need to make their financial statements as per the Ind AS, on them Ind AS are applicable, right? There is a criteria. I'll be telling you the criteria as well. Then you need to follow the Master Direction of the RBI NBFC Scale Based Regulation, right? And here is the applicability criteria of the Ind AS. If you are a listed company, definitely you need to follow the Ind AS. Or if you are in the process of being listed, again you need to follow the Ind AS. If you are not listed, if you are not in the process of listing, then you need to have a net worth of at least 250 crore or more, right? If your net worth is 250 crore or more, again you are a big company, you need to follow Ind AS. Even if you are a non-banking financial company, your net worth is up to or greater than 250 crore. If your net worth is 250 crore or more, again you need to follow the Ind AS. However, if you are bank, RBI has deferred it. If you are an insurance company, IRDAI has deferred it, right? So do remember, for banks and insurance companies, no Ind AS as of now till the RBI or IRDAI gives any kind of clarification. However, for NBFC, there is a criteria. If your NBFC is having a net worth of 250 crore or more, you need to follow the Ind AS, right? And at last, I would like to tell you guys that we have launched the RBI Grade B 2025 complete course. This course is with books, right? So you can check out this course and the course highlights as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. वीडियो पसंद आ गया हो तो वीडियो को लाइक कर देना, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर देना. मिलते हैं दूसरे वीडियोस में. इसी तरह बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स को फटाफट से छोटे वीडियोस के अंदर डिस्कस करेंगे आगे भी, राइट? बाय बाय, टेक केयर.